How does the most famous pilot in the world simply vanish? Not crash, not call for help. Just disappear. Out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a small silver plane cuts through endless sky. Below it, nothing but water. No landmarks. No margin for error. Inside the cockpit is Amelia Earhart, a woman who had already done the impossible. A pioneer, a record breaker, the most famous pilot on Earth. And yet, this would be the flight no one could explain. Her radio signals grew weaker. Her position uncertain. Fuel running dangerously low. Then came
negative
the final
contact,
message.
negative visual. Continuing
Broken.
search pattern.
Fading. We are running north and south. And then silence. No wreckage. No confirmed location. Just an empty sky. And a mystery that refused to die. The U.S. launched one of the largest search operations in history. Ships, planes, thousands of miles scanned. And still, nothing. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. So what really happened to Amelia Earhart? Did she crash into the ocean? Or land somewhere no one has ever found? Because the truth may be far stranger than anyone ever expected. Long before she vanished, Amelia Earhart was already a legend. Born in 1897, in a time when flying itself was still new, and women were rarely expected to chase the skies. Amelia did exactly that. She wasn't just interested in aviation. She was drawn to it, obsessed with it. At a time when most people were still afraid of flight, she was already dreaming of going further. Higher. Faster. And she didn't just dream. She proved it. In 1932, Amelia Earhart became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. A journey that turned her into a national hero and an international icon. But what made Amelia different wasn't just what she achieved. It was who she was. Bold, independent, unwilling to accept limits placed on her by society. In the 1930s, America was a country chasing the future. A time of innovation, of exploration, where the sky no longer felt like a boundary, but an invitation. And no one embodied that spirit more than Amelia Earhart. She wasn't just breaking records. She was redefining what was possible. Every flight pushed her further into history. Every success made the next challenge inevitable. Because for Amelia, standing still was never an option. She wasn't just chasing records. She was chasing history. By the summer of 1937, Amelia Earhart was ready for the most ambitious flight of her life. Not across a single ocean, but around the entire world. Nearly 47,000 kilometers. A journey that would push both pilot and machine to their absolute limits. Her aircraft, the Lockheed Electra 10E. Sleek, powerful, built for distance, but never truly tested for something this extreme. And she wouldn't be flying alone. Beside her was Fred Noonan, a navigator with years of experience guiding flights across open oceans. The kind of man you trusted when there was nothing but sky and water in every direction. Together, they charted a path across the globe. From the United States down through South America, across the Atlantic into Africa, through the heat and dust of Asia, and finally, into the vast, empty Pacific Ocean. At first, the journey felt almost routine. Each leg completed, each landing precise. Another historic achievement seemed inevitable. But the closer they got to the Pacific, the more things began to change. Weather became unpredictable. Storms appeared without warning. Visibility dropped. And the radio, their only lifeline to the outside world, wasn't always reliable. Static, interference, messages that faded or never arrived at all. Still, they kept going, because turning back was never part of the plan. Ahead of them lay one of the most difficult navigation challenges on Earth. Finding a tiny strip of land in the middle of a vast, unforgiving ocean. No room for error. No second chances. They were heading straight into one of the most unforgiving regions on Earth. And they had no idea how little it would take for everything to go wrong. July 2nd, 1937. It was supposed to be just another leg of the journey. But this one would be different. Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan took off from Lae in Papua New Guinea. Their destination, a tiny island in the middle of the Pacific, Howland Island. On the map, it was just a dot. In reality, it was almost invisible. A narrow strip of land, surrounded by thousands of miles of open ocean. Missing it meant having nowhere else to go. At first, everything seemed normal. The engines held steady. The sky stretched endlessly ahead. But as the hours passed, something started to go wrong. Navigation became uncertain. The signals they relied on didn't line up. The ocean below looked the same in every direction. No landmarks. No reference points. Just endless blue. Then came the radio problems. Messages were sent, but not clearly received. Static, interference, words breaking apart in the air. And with every passing minute, fuel was running lower. Somewhere ahead, Howland Island should have been visible, but it wasn't. They kept searching, flying back and forth, trying to find something, anything. Then, the final transmission came through. Weak, fading. We are running north and south. They were looking for the island, trying to line up their position. But time was running out. And then, nothing.
No more messages.
No distress call. No final coordinates. Just silence. Somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, Amelia Earhart and her plane simply vanished. The moment the signal went silent, everything changed. Amelia Earhart was no longer just missing. She was lost somewhere in the largest ocean on Earth. And the United States responded immediately. Not with a small search, but with one of the largest rescue operations the world had ever seen. The U.S. Navy deployed ships across the Pacific. Aircraft were sent into the skies, scanning thousands of miles of open water. Day after day, they searched. Over empty waves, endless horizons, looking for anything, a signal, debris, even the smallest trace. The operation cost millions of dollars, an enormous sum at the time. But this wasn't just about money. Amelia Earhart wasn't just a pilot. She was a national icon, and the world was watching. Days turned into weeks. Hope began to fade. Still, the search continued. Ships pushed further. Planes flew longer. But the ocean gave nothing back. No wreckage. No confirmed location. No answers. Eventually, the search was called off. Officially, Amelia Earhart was gone. But the mystery was just beginning. Because it wasn't just that she disappeared. It was how. No crash site. No final clue. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. When the search ended, the questions didn't. What really happened to Amelia Earhart? Over the decades, theories began to emerge. Some grounded in evidence. Others closer to legend. The first theory, and the most widely accepted: crash and sink. Somewhere over the Pacific, her plane simply ran out of fuel. No island in sight. No runway. Just water. The aircraft goes down, swallowed instantly by the ocean. And here's the problem. The Pacific isn't just vast. It's incredibly deep. In many areas deeper than Mount Everest is tall. If the plane sank there, it could remain hidden forever. No wreckage. No signal. Just silence beneath miles of water. The second theory takes us somewhere else entirely. Not into the ocean, but onto land. The castaway theory. Some believe Earhart made an emergency landing on a remote island called Nikamaroro, a small, uninhabited strip of land lost in the Pacific. Over the years, strange clues have surfaced. Human bones, discovered decades ago. Personal items, tools, fragments, objects that could be linked to her. Nothing ever confirmed with certainty, but enough to keep the theory alive. A haunting possibility that she survived the crash, only to be stranded, alone, waiting for a rescue that never came. Then there's a darker theory, one shaped by the tension of the 1930s, the idea that Earhart didn't crash at all, but was captured by Japanese forces in the Pacific. At the time, the region was becoming increasingly unstable. Some claims he landed near Japanese-controlled islands and was taken prisoner. But here's the issue. The evidence is thin. Stories exist. Witness accounts appear, but nothing solid enough to prove it ever happened. And finally, the most controversial theory of all. What if this wasn't an accident? What if it was planned? Some believe Earhart was part of a secret mission, gathering intelligence for the United States. And when the mission ended, she didn't return. She disappeared intentionally. A new identity. A hidden life. It sounds like a movie. And like the others, it lacks definitive proof. But here's what makes this mystery endure. Each theory explains something, but none of them explain everything. And until that missing piece is found, the fate of Amelia Earhart remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Decades have passed, but the search for Amelia Earhart never truly ended. It simply evolved. Today, we're no longer searching with just ships and binoculars. We're searching with technology she could have never imagined. Deep-sea sonar, autonomous underwater vehicles, AI systems scanning the ocean floor, mapping places no human has ever seen. Organizations like TIGHAR have spent years chasing the smallest clues, reanalyzing old evidence, revisiting remote islands, following trails that were once dismissed. And every so often, something appears. A strange shape beneath the water. A signal anomaly. An object that doesn't belong. Each discovery sparks headlines, raises hope. Could this be it? Could this finally be the answer? But again and again, the same conclusion follows. Not confirmed. Not proven. The mystery remains intact. And yet, we keep searching. Because somewhere out there, beneath miles of ocean, or hidden on a forgotten island, the truth may still be waiting. But maybe. This story was never just about the ending. Maybe it was about what came before it. Amelia Earhart wasn't just a pilot. She was a pioneer, a symbol of courage, in a world that told her she couldn't. She pushed boundaries. She challenged limits. And she flew further than most ever dared to dream. Even now, her story continues to inspire. Not because we know how it ends, but because we don't. Because some stories don't end. They echo through history. And this one still calls out to us, asking the same question nearly a century later. So what really happened? Did Amelia Earhart crash into the ocean? Or did she land somewhere, still waiting to be found?